Hi everybody, my name is Elaina Rosa Marie Hoover, and that is my adoptive name. So my name used to be Rosa Marie Carroll when I was here in Morristown before the adoption. And have 3 siblings, and the 3 of us were here in Morristown living with our mom and their father. And for our childhood, it was a little bit more disruptive and a little bit more, I guess you could say, scary than a child typically should go through. And had a lot of downtime, like a lot of despair, I guess you could say, a lot of hurtful memories. But as you have siblings, you can always still have the good memories, even though you're going through a hard time in life. So for us as kids, or myself in general, we kind of had it hard from the start. Mom was not a very stable parental role. She had me 2 days before she turned 17. So in and of itself was a hardship for her. And then it kind of led for us to have hardships because she made one poor decision, and then it led into us having a rough childhood. But, as you get older, you start to figure out that certain things are not okay. And for us, I figured that out a little bit sooner than I feel like a lot of kids do, which gave me the strength, I guess you could say, to kind of want to get us out of that type of situation. So we suffered a couple of different types of abuse. So we suffered obviously verbal abuse and physical abuse, but we also suffered from sexual abuse. And then my mother, she had an issue with drugs. She had a drug problem. And that led to a lot of hardships in our entire family. On and off for a lot of our early life, we were sort of just bounced back and forth in between family members. Before my little brother and little sister were born, my grandmother had custody of me. And then my mother had my little brother, and then we went to a family friend. And then she had my little sister, and we ended up going in between an aunt that we had and a family friend that she would let assume guardianship over us. Then, as we got older, it was a little bit harder to, I guess you could say, find the happiness in life, because just because you are moving out of a particular situation and into a new guardianship doesn't necessarily mean that the abuse stops and that the hurt stops. So I think I was most likely in the 4th grade, maybe, and I had already been assigned a caseworker, but I had a separate worker that she was my saving grace. And her name is Marie, and she was my CASA worker, advocate. And she is the one who finally just gave us that chance and listened to us. Me, as being the oldest sibling, you kind of feel as if it's your responsibility to assume the adult role. And I stepped into that very heavily and wholeheartedly. And it's very intense when you're a kid and you're trying to figure out life, even though you have no idea what it's supposed to be. But you just feel that there is something wrong and you need to help fix it. And for me, I finally got to the point where I broke down when Marie came and visited me at school. And I feel as if me and my siblings had had enough. And I finally just fell into her arms almost and just boo-hooed at my school principal's office to her and just asked her to help us. And she was the first person who had the will and the strength to do that for us. So that day at my school, crying in her arms, asking for help, she had zero hesitation. She did everything that she could to pull us out of the home that we were in. She helped get us court dates so we can kind of get the supervision, adult supervision, parental visitations for our mom and things like that. And even with all the good things that she did for us and trying to help my mother kind of get her life back on track, you know, you can't always help everyone. My mother ended up losing her rights to us, her parental rights, and Marie helped us find our own homes that we belonged in. For us, she gave us that hope that every kid is really just striving for someone to show them just a glimmer of. But for her, it was just so easy for her to do that for us. And I just wish that every foster kid had this type of person in their life. Because not every kid gets this opportunity to have a CASA worker. And for me, she was my light at the end of the tunnel, that I knew that she was going to help me. I knew she was going to help me just have a brighter future, and for my siblings as well. And she just gave me that little bit of hope that I knew that I needed to say, okay, we're only going to be here for a little bit longer. It's going to get better. We are going to be happy eventually. We are going to have normal lives. And when it happened, it was just the biggest burden just lifted off of our shoulders. Our hearts were so full because we all three found our own families that took us in with zero hesitation. All three of us ended up getting adopted. We have siblings and all these good things. And honestly, I don't know where I would be if it wasn't for CASA and all the magical things that they can do for us. Just being able to have somebody to talk to, just being able to have somebody that is willing to listen and willing to have somebody that will want to help you figure out the next step in order to make your life turn around for the better. And having her there by me in the courthouse, having to stand up in front of a judge at the age of 12 saying, this is not the situation that we should be in. We need to be in a better situation. We need to be we would like to be adopted and things like that. And just having her in the courtroom with me just let my nerves just settle. And it gave me the strength that I knew that I needed to be able to stand up and ask for what we deserved as children and getting out of those bad situations. So if it weren't for her and if it weren't for CASA, I have no idea where I would be. I could most likely be a statistic, a kid that aged out of the system and followed down the wrong path, as many of us do, without that help that we need. But when it comes to CASA, it helped me fuel that fire in my heart to want to be a better person, because they were giving me this opportunity and I could not waste it. So for me, it was just such a powerful thing, and it was just hope. That is the only word that I can use to describe this nonprofit organization. Is it gives children hope. It gives families hope that everything is going to be okay.